Hi everyone, we're going to do a quick reading from one of my short stories tonight. This is a new experience for me, but this is a story that won the Spring Charms 2022 contest on Wattpad. It's called Imbolc and the Ie. I hope you like it. I think we should leave. My roommate Sierra raised an eyebrow. Nelle, we're parked outside our house. Exactly, I said, so if we leave now, she'll never know we were here. And even if she does, that could be a good thing. Maybe she'll be so mad she'll break off the engagement. Sierra rolled her eyes and unbuckled her seatbelt. Come on, she said. Remember, we're doing this for Michael. Besides, I missed Imbolc last year to help you with midterms. You owe me. Which? I grumbled. Tene saw, she teased. You know the Tene saw were witches, yeah? She shrugged. Spirit women with magical powers? In tune with nature? Close enough. There's a big difference between that and drawing wax pictures for good luck. Sierra wrinkled her nose. Oh, you hush. I wish Sierra wouldn't be so flippant about the Tene Sa. They were nothing like the witches in her family tree. The Tene Sa guarded the Samoan culture with extreme jealousy. They were so feared that to this day many Samoan people kept the mirrors covered and women rolled their hair up at night. My phone went off and I pulled it out, swiping right to read a message. Mele, Sierra warned. You better not be trying to run away from me. I shook my head. It's Mom. They still can't find Grandma's Iakonga. Sierra's skepticism wilted. Oh no. I grimaced. And with the wedding in 2 weeks, everyone's starting to panic. A fine mat made of pandanus leaves, the Iakonga was a labor of love. My grandma had plucked, stripped, and boiled the leaves herself before weaving together a mat that felt like silk. It was her gift to my sister since she couldn't attend the wedding in person. She even made another one for Michael, whose wedding with the she-devil would be 4 months later. Now here we were, 2 weeks before my sister's wedding, and the Iatonga were missing. Sierra's brow furrowed. Do you need to go? I thought about it, then shook my head. I'll be home in a few days. If they haven't found them by then, I can panic with everyone else. I waved a hand at the she-devil's door. Remembering why we were here, Sierra's anxiety melted away. You're gonna love this, she said. Imbolc is my favorite holiday. We celebrate the end of winter, get a fresh start in spring cleaning, and oop, she said. She let out a squeal of delight, unable to contain her excitement. Let's just hope that she-devil doesn't ruin it, I said. I'm warning you, she's messed up special occasions before. Sierra laughed. How could she ruin Imbolc? It's such a simple holiday. I grimaced, remembering how the she-devil had worn a bikini top to church on White Sunday. How a bimbo like that managed to snatch my cousin was still beyond me. Just brace yourself, I said, more to myself than to Sierra as she knocked on the door. Seconds later it opened, and there stood the she-devil herself. For some reason, she actually looked the part today. Sorry, I lost my spot. Her blonde hair was usually coiffed and waxy, but today was damp, leaving wet marks on the tunic she wore. Her eyes looked like a raccoon with all the eyeliner she had smudged around them, and when she smiled, I spotted a fake piercing on her tongue. Welcome, sisters, she said. Welcome to my humble Imbolc celebration. She stepped aside, ushering us in. I shot Sierra a questioning look. She stared back, dumbfounded. Clearly this wasn't how people usually dress for the holiday. Hello, Blanche, Sierra said uncertainly. As we crossed the threshold, I felt a jolt run up my leg, like a baby lightning bolt. I flinched. Half a second later, Sierra did too. I shot her another look, but she kept going. As though led by a trance, Sierra plunged deeper into Blanche's apartment. Grudgingly, I followed. I started to take my jandals off. Then I felt something hairy under my bare heels and stuffed them back on. I looked down. Clumps of straw lay scattered on the floor. I bent down, plucking up a thick strand. Didn't Sierra say this day was for decluttering? Blanche had doused the lights, leaving only a few lit candles. The straw hadn't been limited to the entryway. It carpeted her wooden floors, dusted the couches, and trailed around her smart TV. The couches were pushed back to make room for a table surrounded by 3 boards covered with bedsheets. In the center was an altar where the candles burned, but instead of herbs and good luck tokens Sierra said would be there was a straw doll surrounded by red, oval-shaped rocks. On each end of the table was a human skull. Sierra? I asked, not liking where this was headed. Sierra assured me her ancestors didn't worship the devil. They never drank blood, sold their souls, or did anything like the witches we saw in the movies. She took in the room, her expression shifting between shock and horror. Like it? Blanche asked, stepping in front of the altar. I glared at her. What are you doing? She placed a hand over her heart. And I thought we could all have a pleasant Imbolc together. This isn't Imbolc, Sierra said. Imbolc is about hope and rebirth. It's not. She gestured with her hands, unable to finish. Blanche hefted a skull, her nails drumming against exposed teeth. It's more authentic, hon, she said, her nose turning up. Can't you see the effort I put into representing your witch culture? You should be thanking me. I scoffed. What, you think they all lived in barns? Well, they didn't exactly have hardwood flooring now, did they? Blanche snapped. Then, composing herself, she turned to the altar, waving a hand over the display. Candles to represent the human experience. She plucked up one of the rocks. Red for the goddess Bridget. Then she waved at the straw doll. And a model of the goddess herself. I raised an eyebrow. And the skulls? Dramatic effect, hon. Nothing more. I glanced at Sierra. For her, it clearly was more. She looked like she was about to cry. This is wrong, she whispered. This is all wrong. Anger flared inside me, and it was all I could do not to punch Blanche in her whitened teeth. Be patient with her, Michael had said. She didn't grow up like we did. Respect her culture. How ironic that he always asked me to be mindful of her when she couldn't do the same for anyone else. Not on White Sunday, not on a Gaelic holiday that went back centuries. Come on, I said, cuffing Sierra's elbow with my own. Let's go. We'll celebrate Imbolc by ourselves. Leaving so soon? Blanche feigned offense. But we haven't had a chance to call them, hon. Another shock went up my legs as chicken skin ran down my back. I narrowed my eyes. What do you mean, call them? Did you really think I would forget my future cousin-to-be? Blanche plucked up a rock. No. If we're going to have a witch party, I say we invite all of the witches. She tossed the rock. I caught it with one hand, surprised at how light it was. A shock pricked my fingers as it closed around it. I winced, startled at how familiar it felt. Not just a shock, but the stone itself. It felt more like wood, or a seed. Then it hit me. The stones. There were so many of them, all roughly the same size and shape. These weren't stones at all. They were dried pandanus fruits painted red. I ran my thumb along the edge, filling the holes that had been drilled into it. This was an ulafala, I said, my insides numb. Blanche winked. Correct, hon. It's a necklace for chiefs, I said, my voice cracking. A symbol of their status. And you smashed it up for decorations? Blanche turned her palms up. Well, how else will we get their attention, hun? My eyes went wide. No, she wouldn't. She couldn't. Blanche's smirk widened. Figured it out, hun? You're gonna call the Tene Sa. My mouth went dry. Next to me, Sierra started shaking. Her arm was sweaty and she let out a whimper. Blanche leaned against the altar, one foot crossed in front of the other. Well, I couldn't bank on Bridget showing up now, could I? And to have someone spit up guardians in my house? She tilted her head back into light. Now, that is how you throw a party. I shook my head. You're crazy. Come on, Sierra, let's go. Of course, the necklace was the easy part, Blanche continued. But the mats are what will pull it over. So, what? My blood ran cold. I flicked the lights on. A strangled gasp escaping my throat. The straw that coated her home like a dusty attic. The straw I had stepped on and kicked aside, not seeing what it truly was. Hundreds of silken pandanus threads, now shredded like litter on a highway. Sierra squeezed my arm. Your grandma's gift. Tears spilled down my cheeks as Blanche gave a triumphant twirl of her hands. And that, she said, is how you call a goddess. Rage took over. I lunged at Blanche, but Sierra held me back. Don't, she said. You'll get arrested. I don't care, I screamed. The frick like I care. I shook her off. Blanche retreated behind the altar. She stood in front of the middle board covered with a sheet. You're too late, she hissed, ripping off the sheet. My reflection stared back at me. It was a mirror. Blanche pulled down the other sheets, revealing 2 more body-length mirrors. I stared at Blanche, at her 3 reflections surrounding her, and heard Grandma's voice in my head. Always cover the mirror at night. You never know who's watching from that unseen space. We have to go, I said, anger dissolving into fear. I grabbed Sierra, but the light started to flicker, and the whispering came. Blanche, 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 come here. Oh, don't be afraid. The lights went out. Flames erupted from the ground, forming a circle around Blanche. She threw her head back, arms spread like a queen awaiting her crown. The three reflections started to flicker, their shapes contorting until they no longer looked like Blanche. Where her image had been, now stood three women with dark skin and hatred in their eyes. I threw myself over Sierra, clapping a hand to her mouth to hide her scream. Blanche was screaming too. I squeezed my eyes shut, her shrieks burning my eardrums. Then there was laughter and the sound of glass breaking. Then it went silent. The lights came on. I fell off of Sierra, gasping. You alright? I asked. She shook her head. Then looking over my shoulder, she gasped. Mele, look! I turned, amazed at how clean it was. Aside from a few shards of broken glass, the place was spotless. Gone were the clumps of shredded leaves and the smashed pandanus fruits. Blanche was gone too. So was the altar. The two body mirrors lining the side tables were cracked. The one in the middle was covered by an iakonga, the one Grandma had made for Michael. The iakonga she made for my sister sat folded on the altar, or folded where the altar had been. Draped over it was an ulafala. I stepped forward, head bowed as I lifted the iakonga with the ulafala on top, offering a silent word of thanks. Sierra reached for the ia on the mirror, but I stopped her. Leave it, I said. Sierra frowned. But Blanche... She asked for the tene sa, I said, pointing with my chin. The iakonga rose and fell, as though it were over an open window instead of a full-length mirror. Sierra shuddered. Well, looks like the tene sa came. Alright, thanks so much for listening, everyone. Hope you enjoyed the story. And like I said, this is a new thing for me. So if you like the reading short stories thing, then please let me know. Comment below, shoot me a message, and I'll definitely do it again sometime.